Hello, my name is Neeraj Bizlani. Today we understand cloud identity and access management. So, what is IAM? Identity and access management. So, identity and access management includes people, processes, and systems, right? So, these people, processes, and systems that manage access to enterprise resources by ensuring that identity of an entity is verified, right? So if the identity of an entity is verified, then we need to manage the enterprise resources, right? So that any other persons will not access any of the services and assets, and then granting correct level of access based on the protected resources. So we have to prove the identity of the user first thing, and then provide the relevant access to that individual or an entity, right? Then it completes the identity and access management. So IAM capabilities includes basically three main pillars, like identity management, second is access management, and then identity repository, or you can say identity directory services. So let's start with access management first. So let's have a closer look. So here I have mentioned in a detailed way. So let's start with access management. So access management has four parts: authentication, authorization, federation, policy management. Authentication, where identifies the individual. Who are you? And how do I know I can trust you? Right? So many authentication technologies, tools available, like LDAP protocol. Nowadays, Kerberos is widely used in cloud solutions for authentication, right? So who are you, and how do I know I can trust you? There is a single sign-on solution as well for authentication. So this proves the identity of the user, right? Second is authorization. What do you have access to after authentication occurs? So let's suppose user authenticates to some application, right? And then what he wants to access to that application, whether he is a monitoring user, whether he is a developer, whether he wants to read some files, whether he wants to modify the files, what kind of authorization level that user, that entity is belongs to, right? So that authorization decides like what do you have access to and what you want to do it, right? And then we have a federation, FIM, file identity management, provide policies, processes, and mechanism that manage identity trusted access, right? So there are many federation technology available, like similar kind of Kerberos authentication, but Kerberos, as you are aware of, that it's works on a single domain, but in a federated, it works on a works on a multiple domains, like one authentication domain in and the consumption of the other in the other authorization in another domain. Like authentication will happen in one domain and authorization can happen in another domain. So that kind of federation technology is available and mostly used in a cloud-based environment. So there are other standards like WS Federation, OpenID Connect, and OAuth. So these we'll see in my another uh, lecture in detail. All these federation technologies like OAuth, OpenID, and WS Federation. For now, federation at a high level, we need to understand like it's just similar to a Kerberos authentication, right? Next is policy management, where establishes security access policies based on business needs, right? So we need to maintain policies like on the Active Directory, on the LDAP integration, on the user-based policies. So policy-based management is also part of access management. Then we move to identity management, right? So identity, as I explained before also, like to prove the identity of the user. So like provisioning, the suppose a cloud service provider will add multiple users in the Active Directory, right? So each subject is issued a unique identity assertion such as user ID. So cloud provider will add user ID, right, to the Active Directory or any other uh, uh, LDAP or novel directory, any other directory services, right? So provisioning is like creating a user ID in the database. After that, password management. After user ID is created, what policy is applicable to that user on the password basis? Whether password will not expire, whether password will expire after 90 days. So what generation and storage, security control of these password, how the password will be applicable, what criteria will password will be applicable for this user. So all password management activities. Self-service. Here in self-service, cloud customer is in charge of provisioning each user's identity assertion. So cloud customer will assert the user ID in the database and then provide the right level of access to that application. So self-service. Maybe we can say OTP, we can use here single sign-on, etc. So registration. The entity issuing the password and identity assertion will retain a record of each for user in recognizing later. So whatever entity, whether it's a cloud provider, whether it's a customer, so that registration will happen, right, when the new user comes in, whether or if any user is deleted from the database. So all the registration and all the record will be maintained at the entity level, maybe at the cloud provider level or at the customer level, right? Then we have a identity repository directory services, right, where there are many directory services available like X.500 certificates, LDAP protocol, Microsoft Active Directory, Novel E-Directory, metadata replication, and in the cloud, public cloud directory as a service available is there. So in Kerberos and other federation technologies, all identity repository directories. So where users data is stored or user data is protected, right? So this is all directory services is built on on top of it is access management and identity management is being implemented, right? So this is all about IAM on an overall basis. So thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you like it.